Glenn goes to the Jets. Vrabel and Johnson have been off the table. What's next for the New Orleans Saints? I'm Tim. Let's talk Saints. So just a quick recap. You had 6 teams looking for head coaches, 3 down, 3 to go, and we're one of the ones that are on the go list. Obviously, Vrabel and Patriots were done almost instantly, and pretty much everybody knows that was a done deal from pretty much the get go. And I don't think the Saints or anybody else have ever really had a chance at Vrabel. Ben Johnson wasn't linked to that many teams. Bears, one of them, ends up being hired by the Bears. And if you notice in the overview box there, we're going to talk about GM effects in a little bit. And he's one of them that seems to have fired the first shot as far as head coaches trying to come in with a little bit of a position of strength, I guess would be the way you say it. You should say it, because before he even accepted interviews, he sent out that tweet, or a tweet was sent out basically attributed to him, that said in almost no uncertain terms, the way I inferred it was 2 parts. One was, I want a synergy with whoever the GM is, and you can kind of read into that going, I want as much of an equal say as possible. The second part of it was, when we interview, I'm expecting whoever I'm interviewing with to explain their front office situation, what went wrong, and how are you going to fix the problems? Because he's obviously stating things are not going the way you wanted them to. The old head coach isn't here, and you're thinking about hiring me. Might add, we never even, the Saints, despite the fact that Ben Johnson was the hottest name out there and everybody pretty much agreeing that's the guy you want, we didn't even request an interview with him after that tweet came out. Because moving on to the second part of this, the GM effect, I think, and I'm not going to throw it all on Ben Johnson, but I think there is a trend here of these young coaches with a lot of momentum behind their names are going, we're not getting stuck in a crappy situation. We're you know, I think Ben Johnson, if he would not have gotten a situation he liked, or was able to find a team where he could get on equal footing, he might have pulled what he did last year and just pulled his name out of contention and going, yeah, I'm going to go back and be the OC of Detroit and see what happens next year. A little confidence in yourself going, even if I have a bad season, it doesn't matter. I know I'm good and I'm going to get hired. Kind of the impression I get from him. And I think he was putting it out there to the GMs in the front offices going, I'm an alpha and you're going to have to deal with, plain and simple. And if you don't want to, don't bother calling me, because it's not going to work. Bring this up also because we know the Raiders fired their GM and their interim head coach, Antonio Pierce, or who was hired out of the interim position. And they hired John Spytek as the GM. And so they're still looking. The Jets had fired their GM. And here's where I'm thinking back to what Ben Johnson did a month and a half ago on that, which was basically, I want some type of serious input. You're just not going to come in and dictate on down. Whatever that's going to look like with the Bears, I don't know. But then you think about Aaron Glenn showing up with the Jets, and that little blurb that had come out and said, hey, he's probably the first choice. That's kind of where he wants to go. I was one going, I don't know if that's true or not, but it could have just been all part of the game. Who knows? But it is interesting. Now, the Jets have not hired a GM, but they had somebody in the building the same time as Aaron Glenn when Aaron Glenn went in for his second interview. Now, he left the building without being hired, but he didn't leave New York apparently without being hired. I've checked, still not seeing what's going on with the Jets, but I'm just wondering if there was some type of sit down, and now the Jets are trying to figure out if that's the right combination they want to go with, because I haven't seen confirmed that the Jets, Glenn, and the GM candidate were all in the same room at the same time having a discussion, but I haven't seen it not confirmed either. So I don't know how that's going to play out, but it's going to be interesting. If basically Aaron Glenn got say so in who they're going to hire as GM, it would be an interesting situation, a lot along the lines of what Ben Johnson was thrown out there, right? Now, there is some talk. Another gentleman who I do watch, State of the Saints podcast, Timothy Jones, TJ, has thrown out there that he's saying he does have some sources. So I'm not confirming, denying this. I just don't know. But he is willing to put it out there that at the first interview that Aaron Glenn with the Saints kind of made it known that he didn't necessarily, I don't remember exactly how TJ put it, but basically him and Mickey know. Again, can't confirm, can't deny, just saying it's out there, keeping an eye on it to see if that gains any traction anywhere with anyone else. Because Glenn, at some point, not saying that if it's true, and I don't know if it is, but that he wasn't putting down some similar expectations as Ben Johnson was, and may have just very well felt, I'm not feeling that vibe from the Saints. I don't want to go down that path. And maybe the Jets are interested in going, all right, we'll work with you on that. We need you two to be a team. Figure this out and go win games for us. Oddly enough, if you want to still have the GM conversation, Trent Baalke, who was supposedly untouchable with the Jaguars, they fired Peterson. He kept his job. Jaguars went hard at Liam Cohn, Tampa Bay's offensive coordinator, who yesterday backed out. So, I think I'm going to stay in Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay reportedly is about ready to throw a ton of money at him to be the highest paid coordinator in the NFL. Maybe that had something to do with it. Maybe the interview process, Cohn just, no, I don't think I want to work with Baalke. And coincidentally, Trent Baalke was fired by Jacksonville a few hours later. I don't know what to make all this, but it's a trend. Like, I don't know if I've ever seen this really happen around the NFL. Like, we're kind of seeing this the last, either, again, coincidence not in Jacksonville, or kind of Glenn and Johnson both maybe possibly being made known that, we want more of a two-way street between us and the front office. Don't know how all this plays out, but I get the feeling that a lot of this, if there's any traction to this, the way these coaches are looking at their GMs, the first thing is how many of the remaining lists that we have for the Saints are in that category, because I don't want to say they want to take power away from the front office. It sounds like more they want to share some of it. And I don't think our front office is really interested in doing that. So how many of these guys that remain on the list, the Saints would be their first choice? Interesting conversation to have there. Let's recap what's going on in the Saints situation, as well as the other two real quick, because there's not really a lot of crossover names with Raiders, Dallas, and Saints still looking for head coaches. The only name that I saw attributed to Dallas that the Saints seem to be interested in is Kellen Moore. Jacksonville, Joe Brady and Kellen Moore. So Morris kind of seems to be in play for all three. Brady in play for two of them. So that's really where you want to start the conversation, is how do we rank? If that's the next two top guys, where are we sitting on their list? Hadn't heard much about them, and they're still in the playoffs, so there's not a lot of heat going on with them right now. But it seems like they both have a really good shot of the three remaining jobs. That might be two guys that wind up with them. Because if they're looking at the possibility that, say, Moore, I've worked for Jerry Jones. I can go to Dallas and work for him again, or if that's what he's thinking. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there as a big giant what if. Or Brady wants, some input towards a GM, and he gets involved with Jacksonville, going, "Hey, let's share the power." I'm gonna just use that as a quote between the two. You know, who are we looking at now? Mike McCarthy? Would that be our number one? Um, and we'll get back to him in a second. Because right now, what the Saints are looking at, obviously Brady and Moore, both still in the playoffs, and we obviously want to have the in person, the second round, the in person interview with them. We're scheduling Anthony Weaver and Mike Kafka for tomorrow, Friday, for their second interview, which is going to be in person. And it sounds like uh, Twitter just read something that sounds like actually Weaver's going to be flying in and making it on Thursday. So with all the winter storm effects and all and travel and all, it sounds like he's actually going to be here in person. So we make sure we get at least one. Darren Rizzi, in fact, I pull it up right now, attributed to Mike Kliss with number 9, Channel 9 News. I'm assuming that's a Chicago station, but it was reposted by Ross Jackson that they're sourcing that Bears and Darren Rizzi not expected to happen. That the Bears are expected to keep their Richard Hightower, who's currently their special teams coordinator. We'll see how that plays out. All of a sudden, Rizzi's back in play. Rizzi was interviewed by the Jets. Obviously, he's not getting that job. I don't know if he's in a mix either for Jacksonville or Dallas or the Raiders, for that matter. I don't really know what the Raiders situation looks like. Should have mentioned that just a minute ago because they seem to have quite a few people that they have requested interview with. So that like they're trying to figure it out. I really don't know what's going on there, but they have their GM in place, so that may heat up a little bit there. Rizzi conceivably could pop up there. After that, it's Cliff Kingsbury, who said he's postponing till after the Commanders. So he hasn't done anything yet with anyone, and he was on our list. I don't know if everybody maybe trying to sit around and wait to see what he's going to do and how long it's going to take to get him involved, but he's not even doing the first round interview process at all. He's sitting out till the Commanders are out. And then we're sitting on waiting to see when Mike McCarthy might come in, and the rumors are that he will. So, I mean, that's kind of the Saints list right now. I feel like the guy in the front running out of this list, actually two of them, would be McCarthy or Rizzi. So I think they honestly might want this job. McCarthy, because Gail Benson is the complete opposite of Jerry Jones. So it was obvious he wanted out of Dallas, and he wanted out of Dallas, it sounds like, for a while. So if it's a front office owner interference, well, what better team to go to than the Saints? You don't have to deal with that. And maybe he and Mickey do supposedly go back a little ways. Maybe that would be a situation where a little bit of sharing of the power or a synergy between the front office and the head coach might work. I don't know. If we have to go down that route, I pray it will, but I don't know. And of course, Rizzi already being here, wanting a head coaching job, this might be his only opportunity, and it might be he's our fallback. Because, like I said, you're not really getting an impression on how Moore and Brady are thinking. You don't know if you wait around for Cliff Kingsbury, you might be waiting a while. And you might be waiting forever because there's always a possibility he could, I'm going to call it, pull a Ben Johnson like Johnson did last year in a very similar situation and go, nah, I'm good. I'm staying here for another year. In Kingsbury's case, it might be just another chance like Johnson did, put another feather in my cap. And then I can come out sort of like Johnson did with a little little more power to dictate some terms about where I want to go and how I want things to work when I get there. So this one's interesting. Again, to recap, when we were talking about Aaron Glenn, I thought from the outside looking in that the Jets were a better fit for him than New Orleans was. I don't necessarily know if the Jets were actually his first choice or he just got acquiesced to what he wanted by them. And so he goes, all right, this is where I'm going. I don't know. As it was put out there that he didn't get the vibes from the Saints that anything he was looking for in that relationship was gonna happen. He could fall anywhere in between it, but regardless, I mean, my conclusion, drawing the way this is going so far, we never ever gave ourselves an opportunity at all, zero, for supposedly the best guy out there in Ben Johnson. That speaks volumes, and it's scary that you don't even try to pursue that. Glenn seemed to be the guy that if you listen to what was being talked around the team, and we know some of the beat writers are useful for the team to get information out there. Let's just put it that way, and not in a bad way, but just the sources make sure their guys get stuff like we were hearing from Glenn or about Glenn. It didn't come to fruition, and if that's true, that is really scary because your first choice just the girl you really want to take to the prom is going with someone else. Now you're kind of looking down the list, and what kind of position have you put yourself in for what everybody is thinking the top names? And from the Saints list, personally, I think I'd want to run my shot at Cliff Kingsbury out of this group, but I'm not really sure. But the consensus seems to be Joe Brady. And Rappaport and some of these other national guys were thrown out there yesterday that with Trent Baalke gone, Jacksonville may be trying to make either a run back at Cone and get him out of Tampa Bay because apparently that's the guy they really want. But a very similar candidate to Liam Cone is Joe Brady. And they're kind of making the connection that Cone decides to stay in Tampa Bay. Brady may be the number one target for Jacksonville. And if it is, once again, if we're going to get in a showdown with another team over a head coach, where's his first choice going to lie? And what's he really looking for in a job? Because I'm going to close this with one of the things that annoyed me so badly about Mickey Loomis's end of the year press conference. And there was a handful to pick there. We did a video on it, and I'll try to remember to either leave a link up there for it or make sure it's in the end card at the close of this. But when he's talking or was talking about the job in a nutshell, the selling point is this is one of 32 head coaching jobs. And these all these coaches want to be an NFL head coaches. And then, similar question about what do you sell the head coach on? And he just thinking, well, we don't need to sell ourselves. And I'm really looking back what's going on so far, going, well, Mickey, the attitude that, hey, we're one of 32, we're going to get a head coach. Is it really the head coach you want? Is it really the head coach you need? And two very important questions. And then we don't have to sell ourselves. You think some people didn't hear that? That's in this or was in the case of possibly Aaron Glenn, that are looking for the job and going, wait a minute. Wait, you don't think you have to sell you don't think you have to convince me to come here like you're the only option? That I don't have better options out there and why your job is better than, say, the Jets job? It's not a good look. None of this is really a good look for Mickey. So Mickey's going to have to hit a home run. He might just have to go, I don't know, sell himself and sell the organization to like a Joe Brady to get him in here, if that's the guy. Or Cliff Kingsbury. Or you may be looking at it without the realms of possibility that Mike Kafka or Anthony Weaver may be the Saints head coach in 2025, just because, as Mickey Loomis says, we didn't sell ourselves because we don't have to, and because there's all these guys that want a head coaching job and somebody's going to get it. Is it the right guy for the job? Apparently, that question, I don't know if that's even being considered right now in the hiring process for the New Orleans Saints. Scary as that sounds. So that's the update. That's kind of where we're sitting. If you want to put me on the spot, because Northern Saint loves to, but I feel like this is a Rizzi and McCarthy in the making. I don't have high hopes for Joe Brady. I'm not sure about Kellen Moore. And Cliff Kingsbury, I think it's just a big giant question mark until his name kind of comes rolling back in the circles and gets some heat under it. So if I had to take odds, we look at the odds, and I don't know what the new betting line is on who the next Saints head coach is. But if I had to set them, I think I would have to set the favorites as Rizzi and McCarthy until we get some momentum from another name. And I don't think we have a lot of momentum on any of these names. I'm just looking at the two guys that have a little bit or a lot of bit of history with Mickey out of this group, and that's them. So, there you have it. Let me know what you think in the comments. Give me a thumbs up if you think that it's basically Rizzi / McCarthy race right now, because until something comes at me a little different and makes me think differently, I'm just looking at the names going, it sounds like we're almost like settling for them. And I hope that is not the case, that we're actively trying to find the best coach for the job. First time here, you like what you see, please go ahead, subscribe for me, give me a like, a share, all that fantastic stuff for the algorithm. We will be back live Sunday night. And if anything drops, you may see another quick video that pops in between now and then, but I don't know what's going to happen. But Sunday night will definitely be live for our normal Sunday night live stream. So I see you then. I'm Tim. Peace out and who dat.